All right. Welcome back to the second hour of LoveBabz, Love Talk on Babz, Rawls-Ivy. Listen, this is live radio, live streaming, and technical glitches happen. I am delighted to welcome this morning Julia Bullock, who is nominated for a Grammy, was nominated in November for a Grammy for her work as in the category of Best Classical Solo Vocal Album for Walking in the Dark with the Philharmonica Orchestra and conductor Christian Reif. Am I saying your name right, Christian Reif?
Yeah, perfect.
Christian Reif, who is conducting El Nino Nativity Reconsidered for this performance. And they are here to talk about the American Modern Opera Company and the production of El Nino, the Nativity Reconsidered, that's coming to the Schwartzman by Friday. I think it's coming Friday. It's here Friday. And so they're coming on to talk about this production, about the state of opera, I guess, and how did she find her? How did y'all find your way to this medium of music? And what's the name of that cute baby?
This is John Lucas.
Oh, he is beautiful. So y'all are a couple. See, I didn't get that in the notes.
Yes, we are happily partnered.
All right, that's a beautiful thing to see. Beautiful thing to see. So tell me about this production of El Nino, the Nativity reimagined.
Yes. So the original piece, El Nino, was written by John Adams, the composer, and Peter Sellers, who pulled a libretto together from various sources. And it's a Christmas oratorio that is about 2 hours long in the original version. It has oh my goodness, and this is our El Nino. It has two choirs, adult and children's choir, full orchestra with extended instrumentation, and also 6 soloists. And I fell in love with the piece many years ago while just listening on a recording, and I wanted to find a way. I wanted to find a way to bring the piece to as many people as possible, because the resources needed to put on a large production like that with a symphony orchestra are sort of immense. And so I devised this distillation of the piece. Oh, excuse us.
Listen, I've had 4 of those, so I know.
I devised a distillation of this work to take the full 2 hours and turn it into an hour-long piece for chamber music ensemble and 4 soloists. And it has enabled a lot of different places like the Schwartzman Center to present this work that I think is just magical and tells the full nativity story in all of its miracles and also all of its extreme challenges. So yeah, it's a piece I'm really passionate about.
It has a very specific Latin voice to it, though, right? As I'm reading the notes, because I get down to it, and I'm like, oh, wait a minute. So it celebrates Latin American poets and the voices of women, and is that part of why it's attractive to you, because it's got this different kind of relationship to the nativity story?
Yes, I mean, historically when we think about, I guess I grew up in the Episcopalian Church, so I was indoctrinated with the nativity story, the Christmas story, through patriarchal Western European lenses most of the time. And so to come across this piece, which really centers, as you said, the Latinx poets and also voices of women, and focuses on this unique relationship between birthing parent and child, it just, I think, opened up a whole, additional lens into this incredible story. And in some ways, I think it takes like the most delicate and also the most sort of ferocious aspects of the story and brings them to the forefront. And I think that's a no small part to the fact that women are the ones who are articulating the experience.
Oh, I love this. So you have a full-on orchestra. You've got a bunch of voices, you and some other folks who will be singing. Like, this is massive, I think. And you've taken a 2-hour production and turned it into what, an hour and some minutes?
Yeah, and so the forces we wrote this for, and I arranged the piece now for 19 instrumentalists and 4 singers. So the 4 singers are both the soloists in the piece, and also they sing in very close harmony as the chorus part as well. So it's very it becomes much more intimate and much more both fragile and quite powerful because they're incredible artists. So it's yeah, we love this piece so much, and we're so happy to make this in this distilled version available for more audience members and also more ensembles.
So Christian, is this kind of challenge, conducting this kind of music with all these moving parts, is that exciting to you? Is that daunting to you? Do you like, oh my God, why are we doing this?
That's only the first day of rehearsal.
No, it's what we love doing. No, I mean, I conduct all of the world. I'm the chief conductor in Gävle in Sweden with an orchestra, but this project is very close to our hearts. Yes, it's a passion project, and but yeah,
I think what makes this particular performance really special is that every single artist, whether they're a part of the instrumentalist ensemble or one of the 4 singers, everyone really has a deep artistic practice for themselves, and they invest themselves fully over the course of that hour of the piece. So,
and they're friends.
And yes,
friends,
all
friends, and all close. So, yeah.
So it ends up, I think it's a really joyful and intense experience.
Oh, I love it. And it's perfect for the holiday season, right? Because, this is the season of mystery and magic and miracles. So
absolutely. And one aspect of the nativity story, while we can talk about all the gift giving, and again, the promise of new life and children and hopes that we have for what they bring to us, the promise of new life and what that brings to us. This nativity story also talks about the aspects of life that are inescapable surrounding violence. And so the reality of genocide and of forced displacement and dehumanization. I mean, these are also core central themes to the nativity story, along with all of those miracles. And I think that this piece helps to recenter people's meditations on those themes.
So it can't be lost on you.
Which we seem to need. We seem to need that.
I was just going to say, Julia, this can't be lost on you that this is quite timely.
No.
Yeah. I mean, I think every work of classic art does that. And really, when I'm talking about classic art, I'm just talking about pieces that we want to return to over and over again. And every time we return to that material, we learn something from it. So yes, this is classical music because it's transcribed and we're playing on Western European instruments, and using our voices in a bel canto style. But really, it's just a great friggin' piece.
Also, I mean, the styles of the piece, and it's really styles, because there's kind of rock in there. There's some pop. There's spiritual gospel as well, but and all mixed in together with the Western European classical tradition. So it's very timely, absolutely, and it's, I think, very
timeless
as well.
Oh, I love it. So does this feel like opera is moving in a more modern future? Like, is it expanding itself? Like, does stuff like this make opera accessible to like folks who probably wouldn't dig opera?
I think that when performances are shared and they're centering the human beings who are making the art, there is no distance, and that will forever be modern because we're living people. It's not they're not museum pieces, and we are not pieces in a museum either. So yes, I think for pieces like this work, which the full iteration of El Nino is also going to be presented at the Metropolitan Opera in the spring, and I'll be a part of that as well. But
Also,
sorry.
Also, if you consider the word opera, the Latin word, it means work.
Oh.
And so it's not just thinking opera, oh, this is this European Western old museum tradition of singing, but it is about the work that we are putting in together as a collective. And that is very contemporary.
I like that, because I don't think people think about it that way. I don't think people think contemporary and opera in the same sentence. I think they think, the stuff that we always know that we've seen at the Metropolitan Opera House, big costumes and big singing and old stories, like old, the Merchants of Venice and
But they are now also contemporary opera is just opera that is written right now, right? And there's also the Metropolitan Opera is commissioning, and many opera houses around the world are commissioning work that is being written right now, that is dealing with all the stories and the present topics that we are all dealing with. And so that is exciting. That's also how we keep opera present and contemporary and valid and relevant.
I saw Shut Up in Our Bones at the Met, Charles Blow's story, and that was beautiful. And I missed the X opera, the one on Malcolm X. I missed that. And it looked like it visually had all the pomp and circumstance that you believe operas to have, costuming and lighting and and lots of people on stage, so I didn't get a chance to see that, but I am fascinated by the retelling of the nativity story from a Latinx voices. So talk to me, Julia and Christian. How did y'all come to this music, opera in itself? Because y'all look like very young people.
We look it. Thank you. How do we come to this music? So I did not grow up listening to a lot of classical music other than to the Nutcracker and Peter and the Wolf, but I went to a lot of some performances of music theater, and I wanted to pursue musical theater for a long time, but my stepfather introduced me to classical Western European music when I was in my late teens. And because of the poetry, because of the way that the poetry also was illuminated in the music, and also just the amazing capability of the voices that I heard, I fell in love with the repertoire, and it just sort of changed the course of my life. But yeah, I guess, my goodness, I just came to the material because Lucas, was just drawn to it, just intuitively, instinctually drawn to it. We have never done, talking about live radio things, I've never done an interview with Babz in arms on camera.
Listen, I adore. Listen, you should bring him to every conversation, because he is a beauty, and I've enjoyed this. And
but yes, I mean, Christian, alternatively, I mean, he grew up playing piano, and he grew up in Germany. He's in southern Germany. Yes.
South Germany.
Yes.
Yeah, Munich area, and that's where we live now too. And I grew up in a very musical family, and so music was always all around us. And it was a very natural thing to go into, even though there was never any pressure from our parents to do that. But now all three kids are in music professionally. So yeah.
But it's great. I mean, we ended up meeting while studying. We both went to conservatory, and we met at Juilliard while we met at Juilliard where we were still studying. So that's where our relationship began.
I think that baby is going to be a singer too. I think I hear he can hold a very good key. I hear it. So okay, so y'all met in Juilliard. Do you find opportunities to do this kind of music, to be contemporary with opera music? Is that your love? Like, what is or do you go wherever the music calls you? You know what I mean? Like, if they call you to do something other than, this, do you do it?
Well, I feel really grateful that I've essentially just been able to follow my life's passion from the moment that I was struck by this music. And every single project that I'm involved in, I make sure that the people who are involved, and also even the subject matter, is something that I want to spend my time doing, because time, I think especially in these last few years, it's really shown all of us how precious our time is, and we don't need to waste our energies or resources on things that aren't going to enrich our lives in some way. So I mean, I can let you speak for yourself, but I do feel that's also certainly true for Christian.
Yeah.
So Julia, are you seeing many people of color in this world now, like in opera and singing this music? I'm seeing more of it, but
yes, I am.
I'm a patron of the arts. I'm not I'm not up there on stage. So are you starting to see more people sort of people of color doing this music, singing this music, being invited to this music?
Yes, and I think more people of color are able to sustain themselves as well in this industry, because there was definitely a period of time earlier on when artists of color were sort of kept to a very select handful, and key slotted into certain roles, and in order to satisfy whatever the needs were for a presenter, whether they wanted to be socially relevant or, but it was, as you said, it was not an inviting environment, and people had to work very hard, I think, to hold on to the tenuous position that they had. So I do feel that our field is becoming more and more open as the months and years go on. And what I think is the most important thing to think about is not just how people enter into the industry, but also can they sustain themselves and actually have a life in music. Because people don't usually don't choose to be performers unless they're investing themselves fully into it. And it's a real shame when there are limitations, external limitations put on that prevent that life force and drive from really evolving.
So Christian, when you are conducting, I mean, you are a principal conductor. Does that, I guess that allows you to take other conducting opportunities that can fit into your life?
Absolutely.
Sorry, I'll be right back.
Yes, absolutely. So I most of my gigs, the engagements, are a week long when I guest conduct in other orchestras. With the orchestra that I have a longer standing relationship, I go there every year or every other year, and then others, like the orchestra in Gävle in Sweden, I go there 8 weeks per season, and others, or like the Lakes Area Music Festival, where I'm music director of in Minnesota. I go there every summer and for 4 weeks to perform, and it's very exciting. It's beautiful to have these friendships with the orchestras, with the musicians, and then make music together.
Mm. Now,
Great.
in your travels, when you're guest orchestra, when you're guest conducting, are you noticing the differences in the audience these days? Like, are you noticing the demographics of the audience, the age of the audience, and do you know what sort of music brings a certain type of audience? Like, I know there are people who just only want to hear Mozart. They don't want to hear relatively new stuff. They like what they like. Do you find challenges in that, in deciding on what to play and what attracts whom?
That's a very good and interesting question, and there's no blanket answer, because also every community is different, and every community of every city, and so you want to engage the communities of the orchestras of the cities that you are in. And so how I program my programs, I always try to find a balance of the canonic, so to speak, repertoire that everyone knows, the Mozart, the Beethoven, the Brahms, whatever, but always have a variety of pieces on there that are maybe not as known, but are absolutely great pieces, or have been written by marginalized composers that I want to introduce to the audience. And there are all of the programs, all of the music that I conduct, that I program, I believe in and I love. And so it's always it's a beautiful variety. And I do see a shift in some of the audiences, definitely. COVID has been a bit of a quite a dip in many cities for audience members. So coming back to the theater, coming back to the orchestras is definitely something we're all working for. But yeah, I think Western classical music, any music, really has the ability to move us and inspire us, and sometimes hold a mirror in front of us and inspire us to strive for better. And that's what music is for us, really. And to be in community with others, to listen to each other. And so that's what we try to do everywhere we go. And I think that does speak to all demographics. And so, yeah, it's a very good question with no blanket answer. Sorry.
No, that's because I often wonder, because I'm a fan of the New Haven Symphony Orchestra here, and Alistair Neal.
Yeah, he's a good friend.
Oh, and he's just divine, and I love the way that he has educated this community on some composers who would have been lost to history had he not come and the symphony resurrected some women, Helen Hagen and Margaret Bonds and and folks like that. So it's been amazing. But I've talked a lot with him about how do you balance out some more interesting music, more different music than people are used to, versus the stuff that people just want to hear. Like, people want to know that they've got some Chopin on the program, or some Brahms, or whatever it is. And if it's not a composer that they know, how much educating do you have to do to get them up to speed, and hopefully they'll fall in love with it as you present it. Do you know what I mean? Like, yeah. I always think about conductors facing that, like, how do I get these people to love this music?
Well, I think part of our job, not just as musicians, is not just performing the material, but it's also researching. And in many ways, yeah, we are. I hope I'm not offending anyone who's immersed in history as their life's work, or an anthropologist. But I think we're kind of musical anthropologists. And what has moved me so much, as even in my own programming choices, is trying to find the ways that things resonate in multiple ways. And if you can bring those resonances forward consciously in people's minds, when they hear a work that they're already familiar with, but then understand, oh, right, the connection that with another piece that maybe they don't know is through the historical time in which it was written, or maybe the composers grew up or were born in the same city, or whatever it is. And it's like these small things. And again, these are details about human beings, and sharing the context for why things were written and when they were written. I think that helps everyone to connect not only with the music, but then to connect with the experience of listening to the material. And yeah, at least personally, that's what draws me back and back and back into the concert hall, and then also into the practice room.
I love it. All right, so one last question, because I know y'all have to go because you've got lots to do. What are y'all listening to? What are y'all listening to? Are you listening to Beyonce? Are you listening to, who are you listening to? Are you listening to Samara Joy? What's on your playlist? Are you just listening to classical music, or do you just like rock out to, Aerosmith? Like, what are you listening to? Although y'all might be a little young for Aerosmith, but that's my point of reference.
Research, I do listen to a lot of classical music, just kind of to get to know what is out there that I don't know, and want to program, for instance. But our playlist right now, we put a beautiful playlist together for Lucas, and of pieces that we love, of artists we love, whether that's Carole King or
oh my gosh,
Beatles,
yes,
or
Marvin Gaye,
Stevie Wonder, Joe Cocker, Ray Charles, and or German. I put some German singer-songwriters in there: Konstantin Wecker, Reinhard May, and all those. And we also have some musicals in there, musical theater. Yeah.
So yeah, that's what we're listening to right now. But my I would say my like primary love of music, voices that I return to are most like kind of 60s, 70s singers, or at least were really popular then. So like Nina Simone is, I just love her voice and yes, would you like some more mango? Love her voice and just interpretive skills, but also, I mean, my gosh, Jimi Hendrix and okay, Lucas, it's the end of the interview. You got it. But yeah, Pink Floyd, psychedelic music.
So you seem so young to know this music. Like, were your parents playing this music?
Yes.
And you just, okay.
They were. I mean, I grew up listening to LPs. I like listening to the whole album on an LP,
Yes.
So, and on not just in little earphones, but on loudspeakers. So yeah, I guess my experience with music is like full body. And I'm for any performance I'm giving, I'm also hoping the audience is getting like a full body experience.
I love it. I will, me and my friends and I will be in the audience.
Oh, great.
Hopefully I'll get a chance to say hi to y'all, but
I hope so too.
Yeah.
I'm looking forward to this performance. I'm so glad that y'all had time to talk to me today, because this really makes me more excited to sort of see y'all and, hear y'all.
Genuinely our pleasure.
Yeah.
Our pleasure.
Well, thanks for having us.
Oh, it's my pleasure. And hug that baby. He's beautiful. And thank him for being part of the show today. I absolutely loved it.
So did we. Thank you.
Thank you so much. All right. I'll see you on Friday.
Bye.
Thank you. All right, Harry Joes, we are on our way out. Thank you all for another wonderful conversation with Julia Bullock and Christian Reif. They are going to be performing at the Schwartzman Center, and they're going to be doing El Nino, the Nativity Reimagined. And it's the Nativity Reconsidered by the American Modern Opera Company. And I'm fascinated and excited. So thank y'all. Thank you, Harry.